Hey guys, Nintendrew here. The Nintendo 64 is without a doubt one of my favorite consoles of all time. That's why a little over a year ago, I decided to make it one of my collecting goals to try to get one of each Nintendo 64 game that came out in North America. Today I'm going to showcase that part of my collection and answer your questions about collecting for the system. We'll talk about some of my favorite titles, some challenges along the way, and some tips for anyone else looking to build their own 64 collection. Let's take a look. Alright, so right at the start, I'd like to clarify, when I say complete collection, I mean that I've collected one of every title that came out in the US. I don't mean complete in box, although I'm starting to work toward a complete in box, complete collection. So maybe we can talk about that next year. We'll see. So I'm going to take this in sort of a Q&A style format and answer some of the most common questions I got from you guys. So the first question is, how many total games are in the collection? Okay, so there are 296 games in this collection. That's every game that was released in North America. The 64 has 388 titles together worldwide. 92 of those are exclusive to either Japan or PAL regions, so that leaves 296 for the US, so that's what is in this collection. Alright, so the next question is, why did you choose the Nintendo 64? Okay, so there are a couple of reasons. I've been collecting for a while, and I wanted to challenge myself to collect a complete library for some console. Of course, I'm a huge Nintendo fan, so it had to be a Nintendo system. And when it came down to it, I found that the 64 had the smallest number of games, except of course for the Virtual Boy, which only had something like 14 games, but some of those are incredibly pricey. On top of that, the Nintendo 64 has a special place in my heart because it was kind of my first real introduction to gaming. I'm 23, and I was 3 years old when the 64 came out, so these games really shaped my love for the medium as a whole. Alright, so this next question is, what are your top 5 favorite Nintendo 64 games? What a tough question. Well, 2 of them are pretty obvious, so I'll just get those out of the way. Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time are both no-brainers. As for the others, the title I definitely spent the most time with as a kid was Donkey Kong 64, so that's gotta be one of them too. One of my favorite titles that I still find myself going back to frequently today is Star Fox 64. And I think I'd have to round off the list with number 5 being Conker's Bad Fur Day. Alright, next question. How long did it take to amass this collection? Surprisingly not too long. Before I started really hunting for 64 games, I had kind of a core, modest collection of around 25 or so games. And once I decided to collect them all, it took maybe a little more than half a year. Alright, next question is, what were the hardest games to get? And another question I've kind of lumped in here, which is, what was the last cartridge that evaded me for so long? So, when talking about the hardest games to find, you can take that in 2 different ways. Most of the games that I found were at local game stores. So towards the end, there were a few titles I couldn't find in stores and I had to resort to buying online. Some of these weren't necessarily really valuable titles. For instance, NBA Jam 2000, FIFA 98, and Rush 2049. None of which are worth more than 10 to 20 bucks. The last cartridge I found, though, was Stunt Racer 64, which is worth a little under $100 right now. However, on the other hand, the hardest on my wallet was definitely Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut. I was relatively lucky and found a copy from a seller on Amazon for less than 250 bucks, but the current market value right now is over $360, which is insane. If you're interested in seeing more about the rarest Nintendo 64 games on the market, you might want to check out my other video about the top 5 rarest games on Nintendo 64. I'll leave a link right here. And next question, where did you get those end labels? Okay, so I got the labels from Etsy. It's 19 bucks for a set of all 296. If you're interested in picking some up yourself, I have a link to the exact listing in the description of my game collecting tips and tricks video, which I will again leave right here. On a side note, those end labels are also an excellent way to have kind of like a physical checklist, so you can like peel one off when you get a new game and stick it on the cartridge. It's a great way to keep track of what you have left. Alright, so the last question is, why did I collect all the cartridges when I could have just bought an EverDrive? This may seem like a silly question to my fellow collectors out there, but I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked this, and it's a common question, and it's a fair one. For me, putting together this complete library gave me an opportunity to have a piece of gaming history. It's not just about playing the games, it's about having those cartridges on my shelf, being able to pull one off, take a look at the art, plug it in, and take a trip back to the era of the Nintendo 64. I'm happy knowing at the end of the day that I've put together a collection that could potentially help preserve the memory of the Nintendo 64 generation, and if nothing else, it's a great tribute to the console that helped shape my passion for games. Okay, if you've made it this far, I really hope you've enjoyed the video. I want to take a moment here to acknowledge that we reached 5,000 subscribers this week. That is insane. We were at 3,000 like a week ago, and I couldn't be more excited about the growth of the channel and to keep the momentum going and produce more content for you guys. So thank you so much. Please do share this video with any friends you think might find it interesting, and otherwise I will see you guys next time. Bye! Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm really trying to push out more and more content, and it means a lot that you've stuck around to the end of the video. Here are a couple more videos you might like if you're into retro game collecting. See you next time.